So let's start. So we have put this to live, and we made a decision to set up CyberSec Chats on Friday, and we're going to do it bi-weekly, and we're going to talk about security topics, of course, because Ryan, you and I are chatting about it every day, and we thought let's put one of our chats like out in the open so other people can join and maybe suggest some topics or add valuable information on our topics. But before we dive into that, let's shortly introduce ourselves. So Ryan, who are you?
I'm Ryan, and I'm currently working for Everable doing sales and outreach. If you haven't heard of Everable, we are specializing in training engineers key security concepts and upskilling companies to secure DevOps. I currently live in London. It's a great city. We're experiencing quite a heat wave at the moment. It's nice to be in summer. And I think that gives a brief idea of who I am.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Petra, and I am what am I?
the heart and soul of Everable, honestly.
No, I think Dominic is maybe more the heart and soul. He's the founder, but I am responsible for all commercial stuff at Everable. So from view to a contract to beyond the contract, to have a great customer experience with our platform. And like you say, Everable is a platform for I think mainly DevOps engineers to be more aware about security and to scale up their security because it's so important. That brings us to why are we doing this? So I already asked you today, what is the reason you're in security, Ryan?
Yeah, it was interesting. I had to think of a reason, a really personal reason, and one of my first experiences where I realized that security isn't, it's not really a guaranteed thing is one day I was coming out of a restaurant with my mom and her car was just stolen, completely gone, and the security officers that were there had no idea what had happened. We had to go into our own sort of investigating, look at the security cameras and the footage. And then and there, I thought to myself, I never want to feel like this again. You feel vulnerable, you feel exposed.
Yeah.
And as I got older and you look at the way that everything is going online, your banking details, I thought it's an important industry. I've got to join that.
Yeah. Must we feel how you say, stressing if that happens, especially when the security office cannot support you to find back the car of your mom, and especially that it happens in the first place?
Yeah. We tend to think of it as a bit of an afterthought, which is not the way it should be. And also people rely on security a lot more than they realize. They take it for granted, that, I put this somewhere and I think it's safe. But the reality of it is that that's not the reality.
No. Well, we'll hope it's going to be, but
Yeah, our goal. That's our goal.
Yeah, that's our goal. Yeah, I also had to think about why I'm in security. Well, I share with you a good reason. So when I was 11 years old, so primary school, you had back in the days MSN. You know it, right? That's
old school.
Way older. So as a kid, you chat with your friends of school after school on MSN, and then I got hacked. And someone from my class, and then they were saying really bad things to my friends. Yeah. And the bad thing is the first thing, you don't know who hacked you or who got into your MSN. But even way worse, you don't know what they're saying, what bad things they're saying to your own friends. And if you ask your friends hey, what did I say? Yeah. And they're you know what you say, you said it to me. And I'm I'm hacked. But they I don't believe that, because I was quite a nerd when
oh man. Yeah,
so tech savvy, how can you be hacked, that's
not
I was hacked. So I think that realized that security is so important. It not only affects adults but also kids, And adults are also parents, and they should be like aware of what their kids are doing and keep them safe and inform them. And back in the days, you don't have like two-factor authentication, and you had no like special, like conditions that you need a character in your password or like a capital. You just have a password and that's it. Or you have to refresh it after, I don't know, 3 months. It was not there back in the days. And it's so important. It could save me so much, stress and sadness.
Yeah, I saw a comedian doing a bit on passwords, and he was talking about how, when they started making it, you've got to have it more and more complex because people were cracking passwords. You've got to add numbers. So everyone took their password. Let's just say it's blue sky. If that's your password, I'm sorry. But let's just say it's blue sky. And then, it's like you've got to add a number. So it was blue sky 1. And then everyone said, okay, you've got to add a special character. Blue sky 1, exclamation mark. I feel like that was everyone's go-to.
To do the easy way to remember.
Yeah.
So long story short, it's so important for everyone to have like good security.
Yeah.
So we are reading a book, right? Or we've read this book.
Yep.
DevSecOps by one of our fellows, Glenn Wilson. Because Ryan and I, we are not like DevOps engineers who are securing the DevOps lifecycle. We're just working in sales, marketing, and in business. But we do know a lot about security. But we thought, like, how good is it to read even more about it from one of our fellows who dedicate his time to write a book about it? And then in this book, he is talking about security, of course. Surprise.
Yeah.
And he is talking about the CIA triads. And that are the 3 information security principles which should form the foundation of your organization's security policy. These are confidentiality, integrity, and availability, commonly referred as the CIA trap. Yeah. So before we dive into that, we already mentioned DevOps. I think for my network, if people are joining, like, what is DevOps? Well, DevOps, I think all DevOps engineers joining right now, like oh my God, how can you not?
Again.
There we go again. There we go again.
Yeah.
But, like for people who from my network a bit, they maybe need some clarification on that. So you have software development, and to have it in a fast way, you can do DevOps, and basically you're combining writing code with putting the code live. So development and operations. Oh, someone's asking the name of it's such an easy name. It's called DevSecOps by Glenn Wilson. So Glenn Wilson, every sold book during this live stream is gonna cost you a referral fee from us.
Yeah, nice.
Yes, DevSecOps by Glenn Wilson. So DevOps, so it's like basically you're also automating that whole life cycle of putting software live. It's like a piece of code to put your code live. It's very quick, very automated, and basically you cannot keep up with that manually. So that's why security needs to be automated with this DevOps way of working. So if there are DevOps experts in the call right now, can you help us clarify it even better? We know what it is because we've seen it every day, but sometimes hard to make it very clear. That said, today's topic is confidentiality.
So I've got actually the term confidentiality straight from Google here. It means respecting someone's privacy and abstaining from sharing personal or potential sensitive information about an individual, especially if that information has been shared in confidence. And then just referring to your story about MSN where you got hacked, that's a prime example of confidentiality being broken. All of your personal messages, your personal information is now in the hands of someone else. And that's scary even when it's just your text messages. Now, can you imagine when it's your credit card details or your address? That feeling of insecurity and and vulnerability it's not a nice place to be.
No.
No.
No, yeah. I just share with you. I said it to my boyfriend. I said like, so what would you do if a bank or like someone steals your money from the bank and then the bank put the money back and then never told that this happened? And then you will say like, yeah, then I will just get my money out and go to another bank who can guarantee that this never happened, because this is not once confidentiality is broken, but like twice, because the first time your money gets stolen, that's already like a shock, and then they don't even tell that your money, not their money, your money is stolen, and they just put their money back to, like I said, like it's like you're cheated and then you don't tell you're cheated. So like broken heart twice.
And with that, comes the other side of that. It's a knock-on effect, because you feel cheated, but now your trust is completely broken. And along with that goes the reputation of the company. If you can't trust a company with your private information, then that reputation is just going to go straight out the window. If someone had to say to me, "Oh, I was with X, Y, and Z bank, and I had a bad experience where my information or my personal data was leaked," there's no chance that I'm ever going to ever consider putting my money there,
No.
or any of my information. So I think security and reputation should be a priority for.
And it's also not only the bank's information. So in the case of MSN, it's also my reputation as being a good friend. It's ruined. It was not even me, because I said bad things to them and it was not me, but they thought it was me. Like that happens also a lot. Like people hacking Twitter, putting wrong things on Twitter, which is not the real person, but the hacker. And then you have to make that up. And it's such a hustle. And also, how you say, like fixing this reputation is super hard. So
I'm actually you've got me thinking now. I've had just on Instagram so many people faking to be somebody else. I wonder how they could prevent that. I don't really see a way that you can prevent that on Instagram. I've genuinely had friends of mine have their accounts be duplicated and faked, and then they go around and ask people for money, and that's also another scary thought. Look, if I was a professional, I'd tell you how can Instagram, stop this from happening. But I think that's also a breach in confidentiality, I guess, because it can, once again, ruin the reputation of a person.
No. But the other side of the story, we want new features every day. Like we are so bored so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's so hard. So you have to like release or like put in production new features like almost daily, and even more like multiple times a day, and also guarantee security within this. So you need to keep up with this, like in knowledge wise, and to fulfill all the needs of all the persons. So like you said, like earlier today or earlier this week, like you have to build it from the start, and not like you said like something like
with the castles. I mentioned to you earlier about how if you're designing a castle, you think, oh, I want all these pretty features and I want it to do this and I want it to do that. But then if you have security as an afterthought, you think to yourself, okay, how am I going to protect my new castle? I'm just going to build a giant wall around it. It's like, no. You've got to start it from the ground up and think, okay, I need to have escape tunnels or secret hiding spots, or you know what I mean, whatever it is.
You can do it after, because then it's not in the building plan.
Inefficient, totally inefficient. And also, I think if, with that analogy in mind, if you do it as an afterthought, then you're just going to do it quite half effort, for lack of a better word. It becomes the quality of it is going to be less, because you're just slapping a plaster over it.
And you're running behind the facts.
Yeah.
All the time. And then the hacker or the person who want to harm you is always one step, up front of you. I wanted to tell you, like, they remind me of a Dutch TV show. And it's called I'm Leaving.
Yeah.
You never heard of it, but it's like people
No,
really drastically like selling their Dutch house and then going abroad to start like a, I don't know, bed and breakfast there.
Okay.
And it is really funny sometimes. So yeah, like a very famous episode of like a couple who are going to Curaçao to start a midget golf. How you say a midget golf? Sorry?
Putt, like the mini golf
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah, yeah.
And they want to start like an adventurous midget golf track. So they
Yeah.
sold their house, and like a funny part of the story is that like they asked him like, from what money are you doing this? And then he was like, yeah, I went to I say a city party, like dorpsfeest. I don't know how you call it, like, but he went like
Okay.
peeing without permission, like you're like out in the open. We call it in Dutch wildplassen, like wild peeing. Or it's really weird.
Yeah.
You have to pee on the toilet, right? You cannot like
Yes.
show the thing, do your thing, put it back in. You cannot do that. So he got
Yeah.
arrested for that. But then they were so hard on him that he got into the hospital. So he said like, yeah, then I didn't have to pay the fine, even though I got so like, bruised up that I got 1,000 euros of to make this up money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like eagerly peeing in the out in the open. From this money, we're going to Curaçao. So, but wait for
Wow.
it. So they go to Curaçao, and then they got there, and then it turns out that 1% of the land in Curaçao is capable of building a midget golf track. And this 1% where you can do it is like protected for the nature. So they couldn't do it. So it's like with no research.
Yeah.
They thought your life, go there, and then you cannot do
Wow.
it.
The commitment.
Legally peeing in the wild, like what the fuck? And that's the same with security a bit, like a bit weird of an example. Like you're building this amazing feature, you have like everything in, all the weird money, and then you put it live, and then it got hacked, like because you didn't do your research and didn't build it from the ground up.
Yeah. People like to think, well, I don't want to generalize, but I just notice we enjoy to think about the end, the positives of the end goal, So they're
Yeah.
thinking, oh, we're going to have this amazing golf course and this and that. How are we going to do this? But you don't do the boring part, the paperwork, the making sure that, okay, there's enough space for this, or can we do this? Do we have the funds? Whatever it is. And I noticed this as well with speaking to CISOs and team leads, is that security tends to have that same boring, not boring, but it's got a negative connotation, and they speak about their development cycle and how security is kind of singled out from the development.
I call it security. Like I heard a couple of times, like security is really a showstopper.
Yeah, yeah. So you can imagine, we've got this great app, we want to launch it, and the security guy's like, hold up, we've got to make sure this is all right. And it's, there's Bob again with his security, they don't really want to hear it. But I hope that through these talks, we emphasize the importance, when we're speaking about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, that maybe the DevOps engineers or, your network, my network, they start to see the value in security, and the importance of it.
Yeah, and also it doesn't have to be a showstopper if you, because it's a showstopper if you do it like not DevOps, because good DevOps security is already built in, and I heard that not everyone is agree with this, but I do agree with that, because how can you put like features live all the time without building security in? And if you put it into the pace, if you were like mature and have all the, like everything on point, then it's not a showstopper. It's even like a party, I think, because it's all, like in place.
Yeah.
It's correct. It's the way you should do it.
Earlier, you mentioned how quickly we want things, and how the market demand is really, really high. People expect the website to be up 100% of the time. You know, people are expecting new and improved features with new functionality, all of that. And I think a DevOps way of working helps companies keep up with that demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not like get it like, because also uptime has also to do with security, like denial of service attacks. You can prevent that. So it also saves a lot of time to build that in upfront, so you don't have that. But coming back to that, so you wrote down like things that, well, if we go back to confidentiality and like passwords, you wrote down like methods of ensuring confidentiality. Sorry, I'm a Dutch person, so like a lot of times my English is a bit weird. Sorry for that, guys. Working on it. But you wrote down like a strong username, data encryption, two-factor authentication, and issued training within the workspace to safeguard data for the benefit of themselves and the company from attacks. And the last thing, minimize exposure of sensitive information.
Yeah. I think the last one is pretty straightforward, but for instance, we've got our own protocols in which we ensure safety within our company. You know, like when it comes to passwords and two-factor authentication, it's and you definitely see the benefits, because sometimes we even have trouble getting into our own thing. You know, like, so that's a good sign, if you ask me. So yeah, I think it's these are just ways for, you know, it's a bit annoying, I must be honest, from my behalf, when people are talking about, oh, you've got to have a stronger username or a stronger password, but at the end of the day, it's for your own benefit.
Yeah, but also the book like said, like if I can refer back to the CIA triad, availability is also part of this. So it should be secure, but also easy to access, because it needs to be available. Because if you cannot use it because the security is so, you know, like so heavy and so complicated. Like for instance, if your Facebook login is so complex that it's a hustle to log in all the time, Facebook will lose users at the end of the day, because you will not log in because you experience like irritation. Oh, where's my phone with you know, like the authenticator, and oh fuck, it's such a complicated password, and I don't know the phone number where the three double authentication is, you know, whatever. I go to LinkedIn, it's easier. So availability is also very important.
I think that kind of goes over into our next topic. I think we're speaking about availability the next chat.
Yeah,
we're getting excited. Yeah, we're just gonna like finish.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're
go
right.
through the whole book in one day.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Or you don't need to read it. No, that's not true, because there's a lot of it. So okay, let's close up a bit.
No.
What should we like have as our final note to close this talk?
I think it'll be good just to round up, you know, the importance of confidentiality and emphasize how you would feel. You know, we both shared a bit of our experience with insecurity when it comes to, I think your example was a lot more relevant on the topic with confidentiality, you know, how your MSN got hacked and you lost that promise, you know, that confidentiality promise. And just to really get people to think about how that would feel for them, you know, it's not a nice feeling, and realize that the way to counter that is to really acknowledge the importance of security within companies.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
that's a good roundup. Like, don't ruin someone's reputation and your own by being not secure, because confidentiality.
Anyone's account, guys. If you're you know, if you're watching this, I'm just saying in general, don't hack anyone's account. It's not a nice
don't
thing
do that.
do.
Yeah, don't be mad and jealous.
If the world was a perfect place, we wouldn't need security. But you know what? Things like this happen, so we need it.
Yeah. Well, that's I wonder, how many people are watching, and like, do you have like something to add to this conversation?
Book please. And oh, there we go. We've only had one comment. Look,
About book.
Yeah, it is our first recording, our first live recording. I hope that as the weeks go on, we'll get a bit more of an audience.
Yeah.
But so far, I don't see much there.
No, but we have like people are looking into us.
Do you see a number? Is there a number there?
13, I think.
Oh, nice. That's great.
And one of these 13 people, do you have something to add to this topic, like confidentiality? I don't think so. I think we need like more viewers, but we also didn't announce it because this is like kind of a rehearsal for us.
Yeah.
So our next topic in 2 weeks will be availability. No, integrity. Sorry.
We're doing okay, we'll do integrity and then availability is the next one.
Go into availability. I think that's my character as well. I want everything to be available like now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going. So next topic. It's not next Friday, but the Friday after. It will be integrity. If you have some questions about it already, like let us know. We will use again the book of DevSecOps from Glenn Wilson, which is one of our fellows, and he also made a course understanding DevSecOps. So if you're a beginner, it's a really good course to start with on our platform. And then the next one will be about integrity. Integrity. Do I pronounce it correct, or is it Dutch?
You did it great. Yeah, integrity. That's great.
In Dutch, it is integriteit. Do you know? Integriteit, ja. Hoe integer ben jij? What is the level of your integrity? Can you say it in another language than like Dutch?
Unfortunately, no. Yeah. Nice. We got some great comments here from Lucia. Great chat, guys. I think everyone can relate to being hacked in some way nowadays. Yeah. And then another person says, thanks for the personal perspective. So I think it's nice that, it's good people can relate to us. Well, Petra, we're rounding up now. We've got 30 seconds left until it's half an hour.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
I think this went great. Yeah.
We keep in touch for sure, and I'll see you in the next chat. Looking forward to it. And we'll put a LinkedIn on it so you can join or like assign. CIA.
Yeah.
Okay, let's end it. CIA. See you.
All right. Bye-bye then. Thanks, guys.